Welcome back, my dear students. Today's topic is duraluminum. Okay, so as you can see, something is going to happen, and you can see the alloying elements are copper plus Al2. Okay, your assumption is correct, and we are going to do some three process. One is annealing, quenching, aging. As you can see, annealing is 6 Hb, and you know that what is meant by Hb. Don't say that it is related to engineering graphics. It is related to material science, and we have already discussed in the material behavior and basic material characterization in the harness, not micro harness, in connection with harness. Okay, then when going for quenching, we have 75 Hb. When you going for aging, it is 145 Hb, and you should know that I clearly told, and you also know that where it's going to relate. Okay, so let us get inside to the topic, but you should know basic things before we are getting into the topic. Okay, so first thing is we are going to study about aluminum, and particularly its aluminum alloy. It's a duraluminum. Okay, now let me check something about aluminum applications are everywhere. Okay, so they are used in oil and gas sectors, and you can see that duraluminum used in aerospace sector, sports vehicles, etc. Their color is bright silver colors. To do these colors, we have to use for the reflective purpose, and it's a non-corrosive things. Okay, so the properties may be like that. It's a third abundant element in the earth after oxygen, and it is having nearly 7.9 gram per centimeter as 2.7 gram per centimeter as a density, and aluminum and alloys are relatively low densities because of this level only, this unit. Okay, and it's a FCC structure, phase center cubic structure, and it's have good electrical as well as thermal conductivity. We know that it have thermal expansion also high, and come back to the magnetic property. It is a non-magnetic. Okay, it is non-corrosive. Okay, you got good corrosion resistance. Okay, so what actually make them corrosion resistant? They are making aluminum oxide layer over on it, that making the protections. Okay, so making aluminum oxide, the oxide layer, it's same kind of principle used in chromium material also, titanium also. Titanium oxide is forming over the surface of the titanium, thus it's giving good corrosion resistance. Okay, so it's having less strength but good corrosion resistance at low cost. Okay, so passive layer or something we can call it. Okay, so the applications, as I told, it's in oil industry, etc. We can use them as a foils. Okay, that also one of the best options. Okay, you can use it as electric wires previously. Nowadays we are going for aluminum alloys. Okay, but some drawbacks like pure aluminum is so soft. Okay, and it's very rare, and so it is unable to utilize for some of the applications. So we have to overcome the limitations. Okay, because it's having a low temperature of 6 degrees Celsius, and another drawback because we cannot go for high temperature applications, etc. Okay, but the only advantage is lighter in weight. That's what we are using aerospace, but at the same time it's having less strength, so we can't use it for any other applications. Okay, so typical alloying elements we should know, which is matching with aluminum. The copper, magnesium, manganese 6 are exactly matching with aluminum, and they are going to make best alloys. Okay, right. So some of the noticeable alloy is duraluminum 95 plus 4. It's a mixture of copper plus aluminum. Okay, so it's having household item also we are using, not a issue. Doors, panels, etc. So the theme of this topic is precipitation hardening. There are some strengthening mechanisms are available and alloying mechanisms available. One of them is the precipitation hardening, and sometimes you may call it edge hardening. Okay, there is two names are available here. Do not getting confused. Precipitation hardening as well as edge hardening are same, which is used in the duraluminum precipitations. Okay, so what we going to do, first we going to make a heat, then we going for quench, then we are going sufficient time to age. Okay, that's the microstructure changes are reflected in their mechanical properties. Okay, and before that we have something, and I tell you very simple case. In the normal temperature, you take a glass of water, you add 1 spoon of sugar, 2 spoon of sugar, 3 spoon of sugar, up to certain limit it can solve. Okay, after that, if you keep on adding much more sugar, it won't solve. It is settlement in the bottom side of the water. Second choice, take the same glass of water, boil it, add sugars. Okay, compared to first condition, condition 2 may take much more sugars. Okay, then you put it in the freezer. So when the water is going to become freeze, you can see the excess sugars are precipitate, okay, separately, that you can easily identify. Okay, the same concept is used here also for making the alloys. Okay, during the precipitation hardening process, a new phase is going to form, okay, which having the small atoms, the precipitates, and which showed in the figure also. In upcoming slides we will see a very deeply. Okay, so there are few steps that we have checked, and I told that the microstructure changes going to reflect its mechanical properties. Yes, they're going to increase their yield strength and corrosion resistance also. Okay, let me check how it's going to happen. And before that, I have told the story, right? Let me check how the story is going to happen. So in the normal temperature, the aluminum to copper mixing ratio is very less. When you are heating to certain temperature, let me check. Here is 500 and this is 600 degree. In between we have 548 degrees Celsius, where we are having the copper is 5.65 level. It's going to mix. And before that, if you see 300, only this much aluminum, 0 degree no copper is going to mix with aluminum, 100 degree this much, 200 is this much, 300 this much, 400 this much, 500 this much, and 548 this much alloy is going to mix. After that it is going to reduce. Okay, so this is the maximum as well as optimum level. Okay, so this is what we need. So alloying, if the motto of alloy, you know that it's going to increase the strength, change the aesthetic look, change some mechanical, microstructural as well as thermal electrical properties. Okay, so similar time is going to there. So aluminum, pure aluminum, very soft, so we are going to add copper with it, and we're going to make much more compared to normal level. Okay, and this is one of the reason why I always stressing you to check the which aluminum series used for this one, which aluminum series is which part that one, what mechanical properties they have, what is the specialization, what is the alloying element they have. That's what I have motivated you to find out. I strongly believe that you are my students and you have figured out that one. Okay, let me check. So precipitation hardening is nothing but edge hardening, it's the same name. Okay, so it can be used for aluminum, copper beryllium, copper tin, magnesium aluminum, and some of the ferrous steels also we can engage. Don't imagine that this is one and only for applicable for aluminum. Okay, so precipitation hardening, the strengthness and hardness of the alloy is going to be changed. It's maybe increase, not going to decrease. Okay, so thing is we going to make a uniform structures over it within the matrix, so that this is going to increase. Okay, so this can be achieved by the proper heat treatment as shown over here. Okay, not like any other process, heat treatment. Okay, it's also one of the extreme case of heat treatment. Okay, so precipitation hardening, and you know that yeah, mechanism of hardening. Okay, so during plastic deformation, during let me check the this theory with the last one, and let me go to the where is it? Yeah, so there is three steps we have. Okay, the step 1, very simple, solution heat treatment. So first one is solution heat treatment, second one is quenching, third one is annealing. Okay, so you know that you have studied the eutectic point and eutectile alloys and thing with the iron carbon diagram, and strongly believe that you are good on it. If you are good on it, I am so happy. Otherwise I have to take these things again. Okay, so during this solution heat treatment, all solid atoms are dissolved and to form a single solid solutions. Okay, and this is motto of the solution. Then when we are quenching, and we know that what is meant by quenching, so cooling down. Okay, rapid cooling to room temperature to form a non-equilibrium supersaturated solid solution. So this thing will be mentioned is alpha SS. SS nothing but supersaturated. Don't get confused with any other thing. So next one is the aging. The supersaturated solid solution is heated into an intermediate temperature, so within the two-phase region, and this temperature which have the diffusion rates become applicable, and this precipitates of the second phase form as finely dispersed particles. We need fine particles so that we will get exacted properties. Okay, so you know that quenching is made by the water, oil, gas, etc. Sometimes we are using brine solution also. Okay, so that's what. Okay, so intermediate temperature that you should remember when going for aging. Okay, as you seen next one, yeah, as you seen over here, the strengthening curve is shown over here, age time at time. So first one is super saturated solution. When you going to the center, GP zone, the big gall. Okay, so that we have the peg edged, that is fine one. Then we going for over aged coarse precipitations are available, and we don't want coarsening of the precipitate. We need fine distributions. Okay, if you don't know how it's taking, that use the same aluminum percentage with temperature curve. In the bottoms we have the super saturated one, which is came from the high temperature to low temperature by using the quenching process. Then we going for aging process, we are getting the precipitation treatment, which is fine grains. And if you're going for overage, that is coarse grains and bigger size also available. Okay, that we don't want. Okay, overage is don't want. We need optimal solution or optimal level of answer only. For exam purpose, you can use this image as well as this one edge. You can use, because this is a GP zone, and you can use it. But if you have any doubts, you can go with this colorful image also. If it is clear, you can use it, no problem. So initially we have alpha particles. When you are quenching, as I told, it's became super saturated. Okay, so after that it's very difficult, so we are going for age. So optimal age will give fine distribution. That's what we need. Okay, so by quenching, then we are then we are going to reheat. Okay, so there is 4.5% weight percentage of alloy with fine dispersion of precipitates formed within the grain. That is what we need. Okay, the precipitates are effective in hindering the dislocation motion and consequently increasing the alloy hardness as well as strength. So this is what I placed in the beginning. So after the quenching and aging is taking place and their hardness number was increasing. This is the simple thing behind that one. Okay, so it is not only applicable for aluminum and magnesium as well as steels also, we can use it. And so that's it, I think. And then we move to a next position. Okay, that is GP zone, I called it junior percent zone, that is. Okay, and precipitation, hardening and alloys and other things I already told. Okay, so the two things, time and temperature, that's going to fix what type of output we going to take. Okay, overaging in the precipitation hardening, that we should take care first. Okay, so with increasing the time, the strength or hardness of the alloy may be increased. Okay, will increase to a maximum, and you should, and finally dimensions. And this reduction in the strength and hardness, that occurs after the long time period known as overaging. With optimal result, we will get optimal result. If it is getting overage, nothing going to be happen. Okay, so if you see the diagram for, if you plotting the graph for overaging time with strength, okay, initially it will be the logarithmic function of the aging time as a constant temperature during the precipitation heat treatment. Okay, that's small things I can discuss. And you should know about the coherent as well as non-coherent precipitates. So what we need coherent, we don't want non-coherent. So what is mean by coherent and non-coherent? As you can see, the first one, the outer layer is the base metal or matrix, and inside we have created some alloys, and which is totally different from the base materials. And you can see the orientation also somewhat different, that is we don't want. But we need alloying element and which having the similar type of orientations. Okay, so that it can give a maximum strength. So what it going to mean, if you are applying any forces, first it will absorb, it will take something, then after that much more force is applying, then it will give a way to dislocations and other mechanism, micro cracks, anything will be take place based on this. That's it's going to failure. That before that it will absorb maximum load as much as can, okay, and it will not give easy way to dislocation. It for this also I am giving one small examples. If you are traveling in the bike in the national highway, there won't be any speed brake, no barrier, you can run your bike with 1800 200 kilometer 300 kilometer in your bike or car. But if in the city side, if speed breakers are available and barricades are available, you will get more disturbance and you cannot go for high speed, right? The same type of the mechanisms are available here, so that we need to stop the dislocation and other things within certain limit. Okay, so you have to observe much more. That's what we are going to create over here as a simple concept. Up to my knowledge I have given. If anything mistakes are, you can give. Okay, now this is the GP zones. Last time previously we have seen, and the diagram, if you want in your exam you can use this one. And junior percent zones, GP1 and GP2. Coherent precipitates are delta, not theta dash. First one is the coherent, this one is the optimal one, and non-coherent is the not the optimal, this is the optimal. So this peak will take its optimum. Okay, so solvent of aluminum atom is shown here is in white color, and solute of copper atom is shown in the black color. Okay, it will be placed over here. Then when alpha dash, that is alpha dash or double dash, I think it is double dash, overaged, then overaged faces are here. Their looks like this, their orientation somewhat different. But if you're going for alpha phase particles which is in optimal conditions, their arrangement is clear, that's a coherent, and which is going to give maximum supports to the matrix as well as the metal, not metal alloy, to withstand high temperature, high forces also. Okay, and this is what I'm talking about edge precipitation or hardening. Initially we can, we are talking about the quenching, right? So when you are going for slow cooling, the precipitates are going to appear in the grind boundary. Okay, and you can see that saturated alpha is here and copper aluminums are going to be here, alloys saturated. So moderately fast cooling means fine precipitations are available. We need fine precipitations, that's the best thing. Okay, for some alloys only grain coating will help to improve some properties, not with all. Okay, so solution heat treatment, edge hardening, those things, and similar type of figure also you can use it in the exam. Nothing to worry, I will not reduce any mark, you can use it. Okay, simply say coherent precipitates is nothing but the precipitates whose crystal structure and the atomic arrangement have a continuous relationship with the matrix to form which precipitates is formed. Okay, so okay, thank you students, thanks for watching. If you have any doubts or queries, you can write me in the YouTube, or otherwise you can raise and we will discuss, not an issue.